Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something that honestly sounds pretty basic on the surface,
Hmm.
identifying your objectives. But, well, looking at the material we have, it's clearly presented as the absolute bedrock, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah, what's striking is just how often our sources repeat this,
Hmm.
like again and again.
Right,
It's less about the how at first, and almost entirely about defining the what.
right.
So our mission, I guess, is to figure out
Why the relentless focus?
Yeah,
What's the big insight we're supposed to get from that repetition?
exactly. What's the core takeaway for someone trying to get up to speed quickly?
Okay. It feels like, the universe of getting things done is just shouting this one message.
Pretty much.
All right, let's unpack it.
That-
Think about baking, maybe, like a specific cake.
Okay.
You wouldn't just start throwing flour and eggs in a bowl, hoping for the best.
No, definitely not.
You'd figure out chocolate,
Yeah.
vanilla, is it for a birthday?
Hmm.
That objective, well, it shapes everything after, doesn't it?
Precisely. That's the core idea. And what's subtle, I think, and maybe why it's repeated so much,
Mm-hmm.
is how often we think we know the objective, but we haven't, really pinned it down, properly articulated it,
Oh, well, that rings true.
which leads to, wasted effort, chasing something vague. The sources seem to hint this kind of self-deception is common.
Yeah, I can see that. I remember starting a home reno project once. The goal was just make it nicer.
Ah, the classic nicer.
Right. Months later, surrounded by clashing paint samples and half-done jobs, I realized nicer wasn't actually an objective, not a clear one.
Exactly. You hadn't defined what nicer meant for you in that context.
So it's more than just a general direction. It needs to be a really clear, specific endpoint.
That's what the sources seem to be screaming, yes.
Yeah.
But without that clarity, it's like, well, you got a fast car maybe, but no map, no destination.
Right. Lost, basically.
And the insistence in the sources, their focus, it highlights that this definition part,
Mhm.
it isn't minor, it's the foundation. Everything else is built on it.
Okay, so for everyone listening, it's a real prompt then to pause and scrutinize the very start of, well, anything you're trying to achieve.
Mm.
Because we do jump to the how, don't we? We want to do things, but this material is just pleading with us. Nail the what's first.
And what's interesting is that the sources don't really offer complex methods for how to define objectives.
That's true, yeah.
It implies the challenge isn't a lack of sophisticated techniques. It's more about the discipline, perhaps. Just taking the time and the mental energy to actually do it rigorously.
That makes a lot of sense. You get caught up in the momentum, right? The doing.
Yeah, the action bias.
And skipping that crucial clarity step feels efficient in the moment, maybe, but it's like setting sail, full speed ahead without knowing which port you're even aiming for.
Precisely. And if you zoom out, the fact that this message appears across different fields,
Right, like business, self-help, research.
it suggests it's pretty universal. A fundamental truth, perhaps. Clear objectives are just the non-negotiable first step for any kind of effective action, any meaningful result.
So, wrapping it up, the core message, the one hammered home by all this repetition in our sources, is essentially define.
Your objective.
Yes.
With absolute clarity before doing anything else.
Sounds simple.
Sounds simple, but obviously profoundly important, maybe deceptively so.
I think that's it. The simplicity is the power. It's the first principle everything else relies on.
Okay, so a final thought then for you listening, something to maybe chew on.
Yeah.
Think about something you're working on right now, a project, a goal, anything. Have you really articulated the core objective, like crystal clear, and what might change? What might shift or become easier if you actually went back right now and revisited that fundamental step, really looked at it hard?
That's a good challenge. Worth considering.
Definitely. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.